Welcome, viewers, to the unforgiving theater of modern military geopolitics. In the 1980s, Iran's air force was a graveyard of rusted metal and broken dreams. Today, it commands an apocalyptic arsenal of ballistic missiles hidden underground. This staggering transformation shattered the delicate balance of Middle Eastern power. How did a crippled nation rise from the ashes to build the ultimate weapon of deterrence? The bloody 1980s brought a devastating conflict that tore the region entirely apart. According to historical records, the brutal war with Iraq drained every single resource. Western weapons embargoes tightened like a suffocating noose around the struggling nation's neck. Once mighty fighter jets, purchased during the Shah's golden era, sat silently decaying. Without crucial spare parts, the legendary F-14 Tomcats became useless metal monuments. Dust storms violently swept across the empty desert runways, burying their aviation dreams. Commanders helplessly watched their strategic airspace remain completely defenseless and exposed. Desperation heavily settled into the minds of top military officials seeking a new path. Enemy bombers frequently crossed the border, dropping devastating payloads on civilian centers. Cities burned brightly in the dark night, while citizens cried out for absolute retribution. The Iranian leadership realized that conventional aerial warfare was a lost and tragic cause. They desperately needed a radical solution to project massive power across the vast desert. A weapon system that required absolutely no human pilots to penetrate enemy defenses. The concept of ballistic missile deterrence began taking deep root in their strategic thinking. If they could not dominate the skies above, they would strike relentlessly from the ground below. Military engineers secretly gathered to formulate a highly ambitious technological roadmap. Their ultimate objective was to build a formidable rocket force that no enemy could ignore. This desperate vision marked the quiet beginning of a deeply terrifying new arms race. However, transforming this bold idea into reality required overcoming impossible obstacles. They lacked fundamental blueprints, modern manufacturing equipment, and experienced scientists. The global community closely monitored their actions, completely blocking all official trade routes. But necessity is the mother of all invention, especially during times of existential threat. Secret negotiations quickly commenced with underground international arms dealers in the shadows. Millions of dollars secretly changed hands to procure forbidden hardware from rogue supplier states. According to declassified files, the first rudimentary Scud missiles finally arrived by sea. These outdated Soviet-era rockets were heavily rusted, highly inaccurate, and dangerous. Yet to the exhausted military commanders, these flawed weapons represented a glimmer of hope. The stage was perfectly set for one of the most remarkable technological resurrections known. Hidden deep within the unforgiving Kavir desert, heavily guarded research facilities emerged. Brilliant but overworked engineers meticulously disassembled the smuggled Scud rockets piece by piece. This dangerous process of reverse engineering demanded absolute precision and endless patience. They carefully documented every single valve, intricate wire, and heavy metal component found. Working under extreme pressure, scientists struggled to understand the complex liquid fuel engines. Early testing phases frequently resulted in catastrophic explosions that lit up the desert night. Massive fireballs violently destroyed critical launch pads, setting their urgent progress back for months. Liquid propellant was highly toxic, dangerously corrosive, and incredibly difficult to control. Many courageous technicians tragically lost their lives during these volatile and unstable trials. But the military leadership relentlessly pushed forward, completely refusing to accept any failure. With every fiery disaster, they gathered vital telemetry data to refine their mathematical models. Slowly but surely, the engineering teams began mastering the unpredictable liquid propellants. They successfully manufactured custom parts, replacing the deteriorating imported components. This grueling effort eventually birthed the infamous Shahab-3 medium-range ballistic missile. Standing at a towering 16 meters tall, it became a terrifying symbol of national pride. Its impressive operational range finally allowed them to strike targets over 1,000 miles away. If you were commanding a besieged nation, would you risk everything for such dangerous weapons? Despite this monumental achievement, the Shahab system still possessed massive tactical flaws. Fueling these gigantic rockets took several hours, leaving them completely exposed on the launch pad. Enemy reconnaissance satellites could easily detect the massive fuel trucks moving across the sand. A preemptive aerial strike could easily annihilate the entire missile battery before it launched. The strategic planners knew they needed something much faster, stealthier, and highly mobile. They fiercely turned their attention toward the highly complex science of solid propellant rockets. Solid fuel technology was an incredibly guarded secret, possessed only by top global superpowers. Creating the perfect chemical mixture required highly advanced metallurgy and precise thermodynamics. The financial cost of this new, ambitious program placed an unbearable burden on the economy. International sanctions deeply crippled the civilian industries, plunging millions into poverty. Yet the secret military budget continued to grow exponentially, without any public oversight. Years of relentless sacrifice finally culminated in the creation of the deadly Sejjil missiles. This two-stage solid-fuel rocket represented an absolute paradigm shift in their military doctrine. Unlike the older liquid variants, the Sejjil could remain securely stored and fully fueled for years. It required absolutely no lengthy preparation time, fundamentally changing the strategic battlefield. A highly trained crew could roll the mobile launcher out and fire the weapon within mere minutes. This incredible rapid deployment capability effectively neutralized any potential preemptive strikes. To further protect their precious arsenal, they constructed massive underground tunnel networks. Military engineers boldly carved enormous subterranean bases deep inside solid volcanic mountains. These hidden fortresses were heavily reinforced with extremely thick layers of hardened concrete. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, rows of lethal ballistic missiles waited silently in the darkness. Defense analysts state these facilities resist conventional bunker busters entirely. The chief engineers proudly walked through these vast tunnels, witnessing their ultimate strategic triumph. They had successfully built an indestructible deterrent force that terrified their regional adversaries. But the extraordinary cost of the security was clearly visible on the streets of their own cities. Hyperinflation brutally destroyed the local currency, while commercial ports remained completely empty. Citizens silently bore the heavy economic crushing weight of their government's military ambitions. The nation had securely locked itself inside an impenetrable fortress of its own grand design. They traded absolute economic prosperity for the undisputed guarantee of national sovereignty. Does absolute military security justify the severe economic suffering of an entire population? This fundamental question echoes deeply throughout the silent halls of their underground missile bases. With the Sejjil fully operational, the military commanders boldly rewrote the rules of engagement. They seamlessly integrated advanced guidance systems, significantly improving the weapon's accuracy. These modern warheads could now precisely target critical military infrastructure with pinpoint precision. Their striking range effortlessly covered the entire Middle East, including deeply fortified bases. The sudden shift in power left neighboring nations in a state of constant strategic anxiety. Enemy missile defense systems were suddenly forced to remain on permanent high alert status, always. The shadow of the ballistic threat loomed heavily over every single diplomatic negotiation table. A highly sophisticated strategy of asymmetric warfare had finally reached its terrifying peak. Entering the 21st century, the nation completely shed its former reliance on foreign weapons. They transformed from a desperate buyer of rusty rockets into a fully autonomous missile superpower. Inside the modern command centers, senior generals now stand confidently before glowing tactical maps. Holographic projections clearly display hundreds of potential targets scattered across the entire region. A single command could instantly launch an overwhelming barrage from the fortified mountain networks. The ghosts of the 1980s have been completely exorcised by this overwhelming military might. Their strategic deterrence is no longer a desperate dream, but a cold and undeniable reality today. Western intelligence agencies closely monitor every single movement near the hidden mountain bases. They intensely analyze satellite imagery, constantly searching for any subtle signs of an impending launch. Fear of a sudden ballistic strike now dictates the foreign policy of multiple global superpowers. This incredible journey, from total ruin to absolute dominance, completely reshaped the modern world. The tactical diorama clearly shows the newly drawn lines of regional power. From massive American military bases in the Gulf to crowded Israeli cities. Every single strategic location remains firmly within their targeted crosshairs. The devastating Western embargo accidentally created an unstoppable monster. Absolute isolation forced the isolated nation to master advanced rocketry alone. Those rusting fighter jets have been entirely replaced by sleek titanium warheads. Deep inside the magma rock, the solid-fuel Sejjil missile silently awaits its orders. It stands perfectly ready to unleash unprecedented destruction in a matter of minutes. The senior military commander watches the glowing tactical map with supreme confidence. They no longer need to violently fight for control over the contested regional airspace. The heavy threat of overwhelming retaliation guarantees their absolute survival. This isolated nation has successfully engineered an impenetrable fortress of fire. Any incoming preemptive aerial assault would trigger a catastrophic missile response. The political dynamics of the Middle East have been permanently rewritten today. From the ashes of a brutal war, a terrifying missile superpower was firmly born. Ballistic missiles carry certain destruction from the sky, but another question remains. How do you completely destroy a heavily fortified base buried beneath solid magma rock? Did this pursuit of power secure survival, or guarantee their eventual destruction? Share your thoughts on this controversial military strategy in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please like, share, and subscribe for more epic historical analysis.